Hey everybody, it's Jeremiah again. Today's video is going to be about the emergency exit row on planes. Have you ever had the chance to be asked, are you willing and able to help in an emergency? We're going to talk about this in a second. Hey everybody, it's me again. So today's topic is about the emergency exit row on airplanes. And so I think it's always kind of funny to go on the plane and you see some of the people that gets a seat in emergency exit row and you think, can they help? Would they help? Do they have the strength to take the door off the side of the plane and throw it out the window, which I have a problem with. So sometimes I laugh because your qualification is by if a stewardess or steward says to you, are you able and willing to help in a situation of an emergency? And everybody says yes. I've never been on a plane where somebody says no. And so it just makes me laugh that the qualification is if you can say the words yes, whether you can lift the door, which I'm not sure the weight, but I'm sure it's not light, and twist the handle, pick the door and throw it out. And you look at some people and you're like, there's no way they can do that. Anyway, I have a funny story, which I think is funny, maybe you guys won't. So one time I was on a British Airways flight and I was kind of feeling feisty and amusement. And so the stewardess, I was in emergency exit row and she asked, is everybody willing and able to help in emergency? And it got to me and I said, question. So she said, what's that? And I said, so when you get the door and you kind of bring it in front of you, really what do you do? And she said, throw it out the window. And I said, well, wouldn't there be a chute there? And there's a possibility that you're going to damage the chute if you just throw it out the window, not placed it anywhere. So jokingly, she said, throw behind you. And then I said, people will get injured and everything else. And I said, also, what do you do with the handle? So you grab the handle, you pull the handle, you throw it down. And I said, question, if you throw it on the ground, won't people be tripping over it? So I think it went from humor to she was starting to get annoyed, but everybody else on the plane thought it was funny. So then I said to her, question. He said, what now? And I said, so you're going to give us a story about emergency exits and things like that. You are going to tell us a story about the lighting on the floor will illuminate our way towards the nearest exit. So I said, what are you guys going to be doing? And she said, we'll be directing you. And I said, well, wouldn't the floor be directing us? And you're going to be at one end or the other end on your ceiling. So at that point, she started getting annoyed. And I know stewardesses and stewards have got a fine line lately. So I just let it go. But everybody clapped. So I'm glad I made people's situation lighthearted. But she didn't really have great answers for me. Anyway, so yes, I look at people sitting in a row and say, will you be able to help? I don't think so. And then you look around at the people on the plane and you think it's taking 20 minutes to get people on the plane to sit in no emergency, to put the bags in, etc., etc. But yet in an emergency, are these people really going to know and listen to other people's advice? Or will they be clamoring over everybody and try and get out of the door and try and make it within 2 minutes? So I've got a feeling that most people will clamor over everybody. I have a feeling that a lot of people will take the stuff with you, even though they will ask you to leave everything behind. Would I take my stuff? Possibly. And I know I shouldn't say that, but possibly I would grab what's near me, especially my headset. Because if there's an emergency and you're out in the ocean, you're floating around, what would be nice but to listen to some music? I think so. So yes, I probably would take my stuff with me. That's the hand. Anyway, back to my little story and all of that again. would people, especially ladies, leave their shoes behind? Because they say if you wear heels, there's a chance you're going to puncture the chute. So most people, okay, I shouldn't generalize on most. Some people wear heels to give them a slight power trip, to make them feel taller, to make them feel more elegant, to make them feel more beautiful in a certain way. Not in every way, but just in a certain way. So I look at these women and say, will you take your heels off? And I think back deep down they would say no. But it comes to emergency, who knows what anybody's going to do? Nobody's going to be walking nicely up and down the aisles and everything else. The stewards, stewardesses, they're not going to be anywhere near anybody because they're not going to be able to get past through the aisle. So they're going to be stuck on one end to the other end. Meanwhile, everybody's looking at the floor to find out which direction, because chances are lighting's going to be out and the oxygen mask will be down, so everything will be in your way and you'll be climbing through, and it's just going to be pandemonium chaos. And also, one thing that always intrigues me with a lot of people is that when they talk about your life vest and where to get it, have you ever checked under your seat to see if you have one? I was on an airline one time, and I won't name them, but they're called Volaris. They're a Mexican airline, all in purple. You'll always know who they are when you see them. Anyway, they did a speech about jackets underneath your chair, and I looked under mine, and literally everybody around me didn't have one life vest. So I kind of mentioned to the stewardess, and she kind of shrugged me because she didn't know what I was saying because it was all in Spanish. So I got my Google translator out and I punched in, nobody has life vests under the seats. And she just shrugged her shoulders and came back with one for me and nobody else. So I gather somehow in emergency that way, I would have everybody on my back so they could float away. So technically, I'd kind of be like Jack and Titanic, and would probably freeze and sink off, and everybody will sink off with me because they've all drowned me. Anyway, that's my rant and rave about when a steward or stewardess asks everybody in an emergency exit row, are you and can you help in the chance of an emergency? And your qualification is just to say yes. Anyway, hopefully that's going to make you think about flying. I love flying. I love turbulence. I think it's fun. My ADD, it makes me focus when the plane's bouncing a little bit. I don't like big drops, but I fly on average 4 planes a month. So probably I'll get through at least 55, 60 flights a year. So I'm comfortable with flying, I'm comfortable with emergency exits, I'm comfortable with lighting on the floor, I'm comfortable with stewardesses and stewards getting drunk in the galleys because there's nothing they can do. But I'm sure they wouldn't do that. So if it's making you nervous, don't be, because I love flying and nothing will ever stop me from flying unless I get banned by the airlines. Okay, everybody, well, food for thought. And if you've got any information you'd like to give, put it in the comments or send me a direct message. Anyway, have a great rest of your day, and I'll talk to you all soon, hopefully with something interesting.